Money has been trying to reach you for years, Florence Scovel explained. What kept blocking it? Florence Scovel Shinn taught that your good has been circling you for years, knocking softly, waiting on the porch of your own consciousness. And the only reason it has not come inside is the door you keep holding shut. There is a verse in Isaiah, the 65th chapter, the 24th verse, and it reads like this: "Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear." And Florence Scovel Shinn would stop you right there and say, "Do you see it? The answer is already dispatched before the need is even spoken, which means your money, your raise, your open door has already been sent. And if it has not arrived yet, it is not because heaven is slow, it is because you have been standing in the hallway of your own doubt, instead of opening the door of your own belief. Money has been trying to reach you for years, and the delay was never on its side, it was on yours. So before we go further, let us plant the seed that will grow through every key tonight. Say it with me. I release every fear of lack. I accept my good as already given. My word is my wand. And again, I release every fear of lack. I accept my good as already given. My word is my wand. If something in you just went quiet while you said that, you are not the only one. So many good-hearted people have been working hard, praying hard, hoping hard, and still watching the mailbox stay empty. That is not a punishment. It is only a pattern, and patterns can be seen and changed. So type the words "God supplies" in the comments right now. Let it be your seal that you are done blocking the door. The first key is this: money is not a substance you chase down the street. It is a state of consciousness you either occupy or abandon. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that supply follows recognition, not effort. And this is the very first thing to settle into your heart tonight, because so much of the tiredness people feel around money comes from believing it lives somewhere out there, in the next job, the next check, the next lucky break, when in truth, it has been circling close the whole time, waiting only for you to recognize it as already yours. A woman she once counseled had scoured the want ads for months with no result, sending letters, making calls, wearing herself thin with searching, and the moment she finally stopped hunting and simply declared quietly that her good was already on its way to her, the offer came within days, almost as if it had been standing just outside the door the entire time, waiting for the hunting to stop so it could finally be let in. It is not that the hunting caused the harm. Effort itself is not the enemy. It is that the hunting was proof of an underlying belief that supply was somewhere else, far away, hard to find, guarded by luck or circumstance. And consciousness, Florence Scovel Shinn taught, always delivers exactly what it believes, not what it wishes. So if the belief is distance, distance is what keeps appearing. Think of how this shows up in an ordinary week. The constant refreshing of a bank app hoping the number changed, the sighing over a bill before it is even opened, the quiet dread that arrives every payday already spent in the mind before it lands in the account. None of that is effort that helps. It is simply worry wearing the costume of effort. So this week, catch yourself the instant you hear yourself say, "I cannot find the money," or "the money just is not coming," and quietly, gently, without straining, replace it with "supply is already finding me." That single substitution is not a trick of words. It is a change of address in consciousness, and consciousness always answers the address it is given. That one substitution is the door opening a crack, and a crack is all the light needs to begin pouring through. I am not chasing money. I am claiming it now. The second key is this: fear is the only real poverty there is. Not an empty account, not a missed payment, not even a lost job. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that fear is a form of faith turned upside down, faith aimed at lack instead of faith aimed at supply. And the sobering part is that both are equally creative. Both are received by the universe with the same obedience. So a man who lies awake, dreading the bill collector, is unknowingly using the very same power that could have paid the bill, only pointed backward, like a gardener watering weeds with the same care he meant for the roses. Think of a woman opening her banking app first thing every morning, heart tightening before her feet even touch the floor. She calls this being responsible, but Florence Scovel Shinn would gently ask her, responsible to what? To the lack, or to the supply? Because the body believes whatever the mind rehearses at dawn, and a day begun in dread is a day spent quietly signing for more of the same. Picture instead a candle burning in a drafty room. The flame is your faith, and every gust of fear makes it flicker and lean. But the flame does not need the wind to stop. It needs only a glass around it, and that glass is a decision, made calmly, not to discuss your fears out loud today, not to your spouse, not to your co-worker, not even to yourself, in the quiet of your own mirror. Try it for a single day this week. Guard the flame, instead of guarding the story of what might go wrong. Notice how a fear left unspoken so often loses its grip by noon, while a fear spoken 3 times before breakfast can ruin an entire afternoon. It is not the empty pocket that impoverishes a person. It is the trembling thought about the pocket, repeated until it hardens into belief. So when the old dread rises tonight, whisper instead, I am covered, I am kept, I am provided for, and let the glass hold steady around the flame. Fear has no power over my supply. The third key is this. Your tongue is not just for talking, it is a wire that transmits your beliefs straight into visible form. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the spoken word is a creative power, and that every casual complaint about money is a tiny curse you are laying on your own future. Without even meaning to, because the universe does not weigh your intentions, it simply receives your words and goes to work building whatever they described. Think of the ordinary phrases that slip out unnoticed a dozen times a day. I never have enough. Money just runs through my hands. I will never get ahead. We will never afford that. Each one sounds like a harmless observation, a little joke, a little sigh. But Florence Scovel Shinn was clear that the subconscious does not hear jokes. It only hears decrees, and it begins fulfilling them the instant they are spoken. Picture a man standing at the grocery checkout, watching the total climb on the little screen, and murmuring under his breath, of course it is more than I thought. It is always more than I thought. He does not notice he has said some version of that same sentence every week for years, and every week the universe answers faithfully, giving him exactly what he keeps describing, more than he thought, again and again. It is not the price of groceries defeating him, it is the sentence he keeps repeating at the register that keeps building his own ceiling brick by brick. So this week, listen to your own sentences the way you would listen to a stranger you were trying to help. Catch the small ones especially, the ones that feel too minor to matter. I am always broke this time of month. We can never seem to get ahead. And the instant a lack phrase starts to form on your lips, stop and speak instead. My supply is constant and my needs are always met. It will feel strange at first. Like wearing new shoes, but new shoes do eventually fit the one who keeps walking in them. And a new sentence, spoken faithfully, does eventually reshape the very account it once described. My words are wires that bring my good to me. The fourth key is this, and it is the deepest turn so far. The poor self must be allowed to dissolve, not the body, never the body, but the tired old identity that has quietly called itself struggling, or behind, or not the type of person money comes easily to. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we are always living out of our self-concept, and no amount of affirming abundance will land, while underneath it a smaller self is still whispering, but that is not really me. This is worth sitting with for a long moment tonight. Because most people try to add abundance on top of an old identity, the way you might paint a fresh coat of gold over rusted metal. It looks bright for a season, and then the rust bleeds through again. The real work is never adding, it is releasing. First, consider how often you have described yourself using the very lack you wished would leave. I am just someone who has never been good with money. I am the one in the family who always struggles. I am not the lucky type. These are not simply descriptions. They are decrees renewed daily, spoken so often, they feel like plain fact, instead of the sentence keeping the old coat stitched to your shoulders. Second, consider that this old self is not being punished or destroyed in any harsh sense. It is simply being released. The way a coat too small is finally set down, so the one who has already grown can move freely. This is what Florence Scovel Shinn meant when she spoke of the old man dying, so the new man could be revealed. It was never about ending a life. It was about ending a limiting story, so the true self, the one made for abundance, could finally step forward. Third, consider an ordinary man named Walter, who for 20 years introduced himself at every gathering as the guy who never gets ahead, said with a laugh, said almost fondly, as if it were a nickname he had grown comfortable wearing. He worked hard, he was honest, he was kind, and yet the raises always went to someone else. The opportunities always seemed to land just beside him, rather than on him, and he could not understand why. Until one evening he heard himself say the line again at a dinner table, and felt, for the first time, how tired his own voice sounded saying it. That night he wrote down a single new sentence. I am someone opportunity finds easily, and he read it quietly each morning for a month. Nothing dramatic happened at first, but slowly the way he carried himself in meetings changed. The way he spoke up changed, and within that season a role opened that he would never have applied for under the old name he had given himself. Fourth, consider the practical hour of this for you tonight. Before sleep, name one sentence you have said about yourself for years that no longer serves the life you are asking for. Write it on paper if you can, and then write beside it the truer sentence. I am someone supply flows to easily. I am someone money finds without struggle. Read the new sentence slowly, several times, the way you would read a letter from someone who loves you. This is not pretending. Florence Scovel Shinn was clear that this is claiming. The real self was never poor, only hidden beneath a costume the world convinced you to wear. And a costume, however old, however familiar, can always be removed. The old poor self is dissolved. The rich real self stands free. If this teaching is opening something in you, stay close, because the next key builds directly on it. Subscribing simply means the next unlocking finds you the moment it is ready. The fifth key is this, and it teaches through stillness itself. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that so much of manifestation work is simply learning to stop striving and let the answer arrive on its own schedule. She often said that man's business is to sit still and trust, while the universe does the heavy work of arranging every detail behind the scenes. Think of how exhausting it is to keep checking a pot that is already simmering, lifting the lid again and again, letting the heat escape every single time you peek. Worry about money is exactly that. Lifting the lid on a good that was already cooking quietly on its own. Picture an ordinary evening. The bill sits on the counter, and instead of leaving it alone, you walk past it 3 times. Pick it up, put it down, sigh, pick it up again. By the time you finally go to bed, you have handled that one piece of paper a dozen times and changed nothing about it except your own peace. Florence Scovel Shinn would say, the handling was never the help, the stillness was. So today, the moment you catch yourself anxiously replaying the bill, the deadline, the shortage, simply exhale and say, it is already arranged, and let the lid stay closed. This is not laziness dressed up as spirituality. It is trust wearing its work clothes, quietly doing what worry never could. I sit still and let my good come to me. The 6th key is this. Supply so often arrives disguised as a small nudge, a flash of intuition, easy to dismiss as nothing at all. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that this flash is a message from the deeper wisdom within you, the same wisdom that already knows where your good is waiting, and that obedience to it is what keeps the channel of supply open and flowing. She told of people who felt a sudden urge to call someone, visit somewhere, say a certain word, or turn down a certain street, and who, upon following it without arguing, found the very door they needed standing open on the other side. It is not intuition that is unreliable. It is our habit of talking ourselves out of it before we even test it. Think of a woman standing in her kitchen on an ordinary Tuesday, the coffee not even finished brewing, when a thought drifts through her, quiet and plain. Call your old co-worker today, and at once the reasoning mind rushes in to argue. It has been years. It will be awkward. She probably will not even remember me. And so the thought is waved off before 9 in the morning. By noon it has returned once more, softer now, almost shy, and this time she finally listens. She makes the call, and within that single conversation lies an opening she did not know existed, a lead, a mention, a door she never would have found searching on her own. Florence Scovel Shinn was firm that the flash is never random. It is guidance, aimed precisely, and it rarely announces itself loudly. It simply appears once, quietly, and waits patiently to see whether you will move. Think of how many small nudges you have waved away this very month alone. Call that old friend. Apply to that opening. Mention that idea out loud. Send that message you kept drafting and deleting. Each one dismissed as too small, too strange, too inconvenient to matter. Yet the smallness of the nudge is never a measure of the size of the door it opens. So this week, choose just one nudge you would normally ignore, and follow it fully, not halfway, not tomorrow, but today, and watch closely what quietly opens after you do. Obedience here is not smallness at all. It is the very hinge the whole door of supply swings upon. I follow the flash, and my way opens. The seventh key is this, and it is the deepest water in this entire teaching, so let us wade in slowly. First, consider resentment. Florence Scovel Shinn taught again and again that unforgiveness is one of the most common and least suspected blocks to supply, because it feels justified, it feels earned, and so we hold it, never noticing that we are the ones standing in the current, damming our own river with old stones we call fairness. The co-worker who was promoted instead of you, the family member who never repaid the loan, the ex-partner who left you with the debt. Every grudge kept warm in the heart is a stone laid across your own channel, and no amount of affirming abundance moves water that you yourself have blocked. Second, consider that forgiving is not a favor done for the other person. It costs them nothing. It is a door opened for your own supply to finally reach you. Florence Scovel Shinn was practical about this. She did not ask her students to feel warmly toward the one who hurt them, only to release the charge, to stop feeding the story, to bless the situation, and let it go. Because a grudge held is a prayer for lack, repeated daily, without the person even realizing it is a prayer at all. Third, consider a woman who once ran a small shop with a partner she trusted, and when the partnership ended badly, with money owed and never returned, she told the story to every new customer who lingered at the counter. She told it to her sister every Sunday. She told it quietly to herself, while locking up each night. Years passed. The shop stayed small. The debt was never repaid, and she could not understand why new customers seemed to trickle rather than flow, until the day she finally saw that she had been standing at her own register, handing out the story of her loss to everyone who walked in, more faithfully than she ever handed out her own goods. The moment she stopped telling it, stopped even thinking it, business quietly began to widen, not because the old partner suddenly appeared with a check, but because her channel was no longer clogged with old water that could not move forward. Fourth, consider gratitude as the companion practice to forgiveness. Where forgiveness removes the stones, gratitude widens the riverbed itself. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that praising what you already have multiplies it, while complaining about what you lack multiplies the lack instead. So many people wait to feel grateful until more arrives, not realizing the order is backward. Gratitude comes first, and the increase follows it home. Fifth, consider the ordinary day this shows up in. Picture waking already rehearsing what went wrong yesterday, checking the account and sighing at the balance, arriving at work already dreading the budget conversation, coming home too tired to notice the roof over your head, the dinner on the table, the small mercies stacked quietly through the day. By evening, an entire day has passed in which supply was surrounding you every hour, and resentment or blindness kept you from receiving a single drop of it consciously. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn called non-resistance one of the greatest laws of all. Not resistance to circumstance, but resistance to old grievance, to old comparison, to old disappointment. Releasing all of it is not weakness, it is the clearing of the very channel your good has been trying to travel through for years. Sixth, consider that the stones are rarely as heavy as they feel. Most grudges are simply old pain wearing the costume of principle. You tell yourself you are holding on for justice, for fairness, for the record to be set straight. But the water does not care about your reasons. It only knows it cannot pass while the stone sits there. So pause for a moment and pick one real grudge you are still quietly carrying. Not the biggest one if that feels like too much water at once. Simply one honest one, and ask yourself gently whether it has earned the years of rent-free residence you have given it in your mind. Seventh, consider the simple exercise for tonight. Name that one person or one situation you have quietly held against your own peace, and speak, silently or aloud, I release you fully, I bless you fully, I let my supply move again. It will not fix the outside situation instantly, but it will unstick the inside one. And the inside one is where the whole river begins. It is not the debt that blocks you. It is the grudge about the debt. It is not the lost opportunity that blocks you. It is the bitterness about the loss. It is not even the person who wronged you that blocks you. It is the story you keep retelling about them. Release the stones and the water simply remembers how to move. I forgive the past, and my channel runs clear. The eighth key is this. Supply moves in a circle, never a straight line, and if you only ever try to hold it still, you actually stop its motion. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that giving is not the opposite of receiving, it is the very mechanism of receiving. And she often pointed to the old teaching of tithing as proof, not as an obligation weighing on you, but as a joyful acknowledgement that supply is already so abundant you can afford to let some of it move through your hands to bless another. Think of a narrow stream that never widens because nothing ever flows out of it. It grows stagnant, choked with its own stillness. While a river that gives constantly to the sea somehow never runs dry because it stays connected to the source that keeps refilling it, so many people grip their money tightly, believing that gripping is what keeps them safe, when in truth, gripping is what cuts them off from the very circulation that would have brought them more. Picture a woman named Ruth, who kept every extra dollar folded tight in a drawer, terrified to spend even a little, and yet the drawer never seemed to grow fuller no matter how carefully she guarded it. One ordinary Tuesday, she bought coffee for the tired stranger behind her in line. A small thing, $3, nothing dramatic, and she noticed something she had not expected, a lightness in her chest, a loosening, as if a window long shut had cracked open just an inch. Within that same week, an unexpected refund arrived, small too, but unmistakable, and Florence Scovel Shinn would say this was no coincidence. It was the channel remembering how to move again, because the universe mirrors motion, not stillness. A closed hand cannot receive what an open hand is already reaching for. This week, give something, a coffee bought for a stranger, a tip larger than expected, a small gift sent without occasion. and give it cheerfully, not anxiously, not as a transaction you are secretly tracking. Watch closely afterward, not for the same amount to return the same day, but for the subtle sense of ease that follows a gift given freely. Notice how differently a day feels when it opens with generosity instead of guardedness. That ease is the channel widening. That ease is the river remembering the sea. It is not generosity that empties you. It is withholding that starves the very stream you are standing beside, waiting, arms crossed, wondering why nothing new ever seems to reach the shore. I give freely, and my supply returns multiplied. The ninth key is this, and it is the gentlest one to close on. Your good is not something you must manufacture from nothing. It is an inheritance already written in your name, simply waiting to be claimed. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we so often act like paupers standing outside a bank where a fortune sits in our name, too afraid or too doubtful to walk in and ask the teller for what is already ours. Think of an envelope left quietly on a doorstep at dawn, sealed, addressed, waiting only for someone to open the door. That envelope has been sitting there patiently through every hard month, every overdue bill, every quiet worry at 3 a.m. Not because the universe was withholding, but because the door stayed closed from the inside. Picture a woman who passes the same doorstep every single day on her way to work. She waters the plants beside it. She sweeps the step clean. She even nods politely at the envelope resting there. And still she never once bends down to pick it up, because some quiet voice in her keeps saying, "That is not really meant for me. Someone will come and claim it properly." Days become weeks. Weeks become years. And the envelope simply waits, unclaimed, not because it was ever withdrawn, but because she never believed it belonged to her. This is not a story about a stranger. It is the story so many of us are living right now, walking past our own good, tidying around it, admiring it politely, never once reaching down. So tonight, simply open it, in your imagination. Walk to that door, turn the handle, and receive what has been yours all along. Let this be the final motion beneath every other key tonight. The recognizing, the releasing, the receiving. All of it was only ever the walk to this one door. This is the whole teaching gathered into one small motion. My inheritance is claimed. My good is here. Here is the whole picture. It is not effort that brings supply. It is recognition. It is not scarcity that blocks you. It is fear wearing the mask of caution. It is not your circumstances that keep you small. It is the old self you kept dressing in old words. It is not striving that opens the door. It is stillness that lets it open. It is not intuition that fails you. It is your own hesitation that silences it. It is not the world that owes you forgiveness. It is your own channel that needs the release. It is not withholding that protects you. It is giving that widens you. And it is not luck that finally delivers your good. It is simply walking to the door that was always yours and opening it. Every key tonight was really one key turning again and again, the recognition that your good was never far away. It was only waiting on the other side of a belief you were finally ready to release. If you want a steady hand walking with you through exactly this, day by day, I built something called the Overflow Covenant, a gentle daily companion of Florence Scovel Shinn's principles, short readings, simple decrees, quiet reminders to keep your channel clear. It is available for a small one-time gift, with a full refund if it ever stops serving you. The link is right there in the description, and it is there simply because so many hearts have asked for a hand to hold while the door opens. Say it one final time with me. I release every fear of lack. I accept my good as already given. My word is my wand. Money has been trying to reach you for years, and tonight, quietly, the door finally opened.